Dear Professor Kinnan, a few weeks ago I had mentioned that I was having some problems at home that were causing an overwhelming amount of stress. I know some of the problems we spoke about were personal, but I felt as though you were someone I could seek advice from. I also wanted to confide in you, because I didn't know how things were going to turn out, and I felt it was negatively impacting my schoolwork and hindering my ability to receive an A. Thankfully, it has so happened that some of the problems were resolved that same week. I am struggling with my ADHD. When I took the medication prescribed by my doctor, I immediately noticed a difference in my ability to concentrate and complete a task. Now there is some shortage on the medication I am prescribed, and I can't find it anywhere. It's frustrating me on many levels. I know I have a condition that hinders my ability to concentrate and complete tasks. The fact that there is a solution to the problem, yet I don't have access to it, makes me angry. I think that the lack of medication had something to do with the issues my wife and I were having. A few times in class you had mentioned that you would be willing to meet with anyone outside of class that needed help. I was under the impression that I could take you up on that offer, so I emailed you to see if we could set up a time where we could meet and I could enlist your guidance when it came to the things I was struggling with, but you never responded, so I am under the impression that maybe this statement was not meant for me. Would you kindly shine a light on some of the questions I have? I hope this will help the two of us come up with a strategy. The first thing, if I recall correctly, Camilla had missed more than 3 classes, maybe 4. I'm not sure what she was going through, and it's none of my business. However, I'm sure her problems were just as important as my own. The second thing I wanted to bring to your attention is about something that happened last semester. I called you and emailed to see if I could take you up on your offer of help outside to make up a missed class and a quiz. You mentioned to me that it would be in your best interest to do it another time because no other student had requested the same. The following Tuesday during class, Camilla asked if she could make up the class in another way, or meet you, and you agreed to so willingly with no hesitation. This kind of puzzled me. I have attached copies of all of my notes to this email. My purpose for attaching them is for nothing other than to show you my true intentions and the efforts I made to pass the quiz each week. I spent a lot of time and effort in making sure I had more than enough notes so that I could do my best. Recently, I walked into class 2 minutes before 8 and you abruptly informed everyone that there was 1 minute left for the quiz. Even with my notes, I was unable to complete the quiz in time. Later that day on our break, you allowed someone else who had arrived later than me to take the quiz. I was confused by this. I thought maybe you were trying to teach me more self-discipline by not giving me the same chance. It takes me a lot longer than my peers to complete a task or take a quiz due to my personal disability. I feel I was not given the same opportunity with regards to completing the quiz, and that had I been able to complete it, I would have passed with flying colors. Please help me to understand why this is. Below you will find some of my notes. I want to show you that I went over the material as you instructed several times. It was extremely important to me that I made sure I had more than what been necessary to pass the quizzes. As you can see, I went over the list you had provided the class with in regards to what would be on the quiz. I called you a couple of times in hopes we could go over it together, but I wasn't able to get a hold of you. The above are the instructions you gave us with regards to what to study for the upcoming quiz. The information you instructed us to review for the upcoming quiz had nothing to do with what was actually on the quiz, which puzzled me a little bit. These following are the notes that I wrote out according to what you had said would be on the quiz. KJ. One may think that I took more notes than I needed, and I would have to agree. Not only did I write out the practice and problems that were handed out in class, but also ones that weren't posted on our blackboard. I not only felt that it would be better to approach the quizzes from a different angle in order to pass, but I felt as though I was wasting my time trying to figure out what you were asking of us in the first place. It seems as if a lot of the questions were trick questions. At the end of class in week 2, you informed us of what was going to be on the quiz for week 3 as well as giving us a handout to study. I have included the handout below, which illustrates 2 financial statements, a contribution statement, and an absorption statement. At the time I felt I was very well prepared for the quiz due to my extensive notes. I felt that all my sleepless nights and effort I put into the notes would pay off. Above, where you see the is what I used to help me complete the quiz. However, it wasn't what you were looking for, and I got an O for it. At the top of the above quiz you wrote down "Let's talk." After class I approached you about it and you instructed me to call you if I had trouble, and you would be more than happy to talk me through a problem and help me find a different approach when it came to putting together the proper notes. The notes were a little clearer next week, but I still wondered what had happened the week before. Like you suggested, I called you the day before class to make sure that I had the notes correct. However, I caught you at a bad time, and you were not in front of the computer at the moment, so you couldn't go over the information with me. Thankfully, you were kind enough to allow me to retake the quiz. I called you again to make sure I had the correct notes. I was confused, because what you had mentioned in class about a certain formula, y equals mx plus b, was different than the material in the book. I called to clarify whether or not this information was going to be on the quiz, because I wanted to make sure that I had the correct information, and didn't waste my time studying something that I was not going to find helpful. When we spoke, I let you know that I had studied the book and the practice materials provided on McGraw-Hill Online. I also had found some useful information on YouTube pertaining to the specific formula, y equals mx plus b. I was grateful when you told me that I was not wasting my time, and this information would indeed be on the test. However, when I arrived at school 30 minutes early to make up the quiz from the previous week, I was surprised that I didn't have the right notes. What I was instructed to study in anticipation of this quiz was nowhere on the exam. I was again confused when you gave us the description of what to expect on week 4's quiz. I believe the information was actually meant for week 3, however I couldn't be sure, as both week 3 and week 4's quizzes are similar. Below is a copy of what you gave us in order to prepare for week 4. This would have been useful to have had for the 3rd week quiz. I'm positive that it was not what was given in anticipation of week 3's quiz, however it's titled week 3 at the top, when it was actually week 4 to be correct. Below are the notes I wrote in preparation for the quiz. Not only did I take thorough notes, so I would be more than prepared for class, but I took it upon myself to do the chapter quizzes online even though it was not required. I felt that in doing so it would help me master the information contained in the chapters. I apologize for boring you with so much information, but I wanted to add that I put in my strongest efforts when it came to passing the quizzes. Because I feel so strongly, I have attached the rest of my work to this email, if you cared to look at it. When week 6 rolled around, I was feeling extremely discouraged. In front of class you had mentioned something about statistics and a commonly accepted knowledge when it comes to accounting that there was an expected uncontrollable 1% of students whom are taught that end up failing. You mentioned this to us as if this is something that should be socially accepted and considered the normal, therefore we should just expect it. I felt that this statement may not hold true in some instances, however you didn't elaborate as to whether or not this was just the case in your classroom. I would hate to not say anything in order to fix the problem. After you made this statement, I began to feel overwhelmingly discouraged. I didn't know whether or not this was directed towards me as a reflection of my test scores after I had worked so hard on them. The overall message portrayed in your lesson plans about how one would go about determining an organization's financial standing when it comes to certain restraints and performances, as well as specific ways to overcome those restraints, thereby achieving success, was clear and well taught. I really enjoyed what you taught us and firmly believe I will use them in my life when it comes to my accounting practices. I wanted to write you a thesis about it, but my wife thinks I would only be wasting my time. I truly feel as though I mastered what you wanted us to learn all along and understand the procedures and key concepts involved in being a professional evaluator when at bat. What I don't understand is the message you left me regarding telling Dr. Schuler about the problems I am facing. Were you suggesting that I attempt to withdraw to save me from a bad grade, or was it so that I could advise him that I needed extra time to take some of the quizzes and exams so I can obtain a better grade? I'm confused to say the least. If it is too late for me to withdraw from the class, then I want to get the best grade possible, even if it ends up being a low score. Then at least I can stand back at the end of the day and say to myself that I did my very best with what I had been applying myself. I would not classify myself a person that typically throws in the towel and gives up. I'm thrown off as to what you are suggesting I do. I still want to take the final exam. Could you please provide me a sample of it to review and study? If you think I'm going to get a low grade, I can live with that. But if I work at raising that determining score to a higher one, I am willing to do so if you believe that continuing to study for the final is a waste of time, and my score will remain the same no matter what I do. Please let me know so I don't waste my time. If it is too late to make a difference, I would rather spend that time with my kids. I have printed out several notes you had posted, as well as the changes made to them. I feel like I was led on a long bumpy wild goose chase because I intended to pass this class with an A. We both know that that is not going to happen at this point, so would you kindly let me know where we stand? Sincerely, George Minaldo.